Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Fireman Dan, and welcome back to another Space Engineers tutorial. Today, we are going to make missiles, and we're going to put them on that lovely ship you see floating behind me, and shoot some stuff. So, I've already got some missile tutorials in my workshop, the Easy Lighter HAM Script, but they can be awfully complicated to use at times, so we're going to go with Whiplash. WHAM. Whips Homing Advanced Missile Script, and it works pretty well. And this has one main feature that I like to it, and we'll get into that when we get there. And I think it's pretty cool, so I think you may like it too. So let's get started. So there's some kind of some block requirements, obviously, and this is my little building stand right here. So let's get. Fireman Dan, are you up for War Thunder? No, sir, not at the moment. I am recording a video. Okay, so first things first, we need our DTET. This beacon or antenna is going to annoy me. So 1 second here. Antenna. Took a block off. Why? It's a beacon. That's why. That beacon is going to annoy me sitting in my face like that. So up first, we got our merge block. Now you can use rotors or connectors if you will, but I do not see why you would want to do that, because by using a merge block it is easier to turn on a projector and rearm your ship and rebuild the missiles. So, merge block. Up next, obvious is a power source. Now I am going to be making atmospheric missiles at this time. You can use ions or you can use the hydrogen. By using hydrogen, you can either have a O2 tank on board or a hydrogen thrust or an H2O2 generator. If you have an O2 tank on board, if you set them to stockpile, they will automatically turn off a stockpile, so, well, the hydrogen works. The downside with hydrogen is you need a way to refuel them. If you use an H2 generator, you can just throw some ice into it. If you have a hydrogen tank, you're going to need a connector of some kind. You can throw a connector on, fuel the missile, and then take it back off when you're done. Or you can just build it into the missile and have some kind of way to refuel it. That is your choice to do it. I am not doing that. I am using atmospheric. So up next is I want my thruster, right? So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to have hydrogen or atmospheric thruster for propulsion. Now the more you have, the more forward thrust you have, the better intercept chance you have of hitting your target. The downside is the more forward thrust you have, the less time this battery has to run. If you're using small batteries, they're going to die pretty freaking quickly. If you're using a large battery, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Now I am going to throw on a remote control so I can access some of this. Now these atmospheric thrusters, I am going to turn them off. The reason being is when I'm flying my ship, I do not want these additional thrusters, which there's going to be, in this case, 2, 3, 4 of them, so there's going to be, 12 additional thrusters. I do not want them overloading my power supply on my ship. They will automatically turn back on when you launch your missile. Don't worry about it. Up next is you're going to need a gyroscope, which is obvious. Or at least I hope it is. Pretty much anything you would do to make a remote controlled ship you're going to need. You need your gyroscope. You're going to need an antenna. Now I do not like the fact that antenna has to be on here because antennas can broadcast your position away. We'll cover that. Now you can come in here and you can tell this antenna and turn off broadcasting, so it's not on there. If you want it on, you can leave it on, and you can make it do some pretty funny things to mess with people. We'll cover that. And by having it enable broadcast or stealth mode off, which we'll cover, we may cover that, you can change locking mode, and you can actually tell the missile to just quit tracking altogether if you locked onto a friendly. So we got the antenna. Next, we'll need a remote control. Remember, everything you needed for a remote controlled ship. And it has to make sure the remote control is facing forward. Whatever the front of the missile is, make sure it faces forward. You'll need a programmable block because this is a script. Alright, we can access that. And let's see, we got the thrusters, we got the antenna, the gyro, the program block, the power source. We need something to go boom because we're, making a missile. And lastly, we need some cameras. Cameras is for missile tracking. The more cameras, the merrier. I'll throw another one on here. Another option, if you want, you can throw a sensor on here, and then you don't have to do anything with that sensor. The sensor will be used to automatically detonate the missile. The cameras also detonate the missile as well. They act as tripwires. And lastly, if you want, you could put side thrust on here. Alright, so it'll fly better through the atmosphere. Alright, it's not required. And if you put this on here and call it, that's actually facing the wrong way, and you'll see what I mean. And then name this detach, put detach in its name, so that is, it'll be the last one I put on. So if I put detach in its name, whenever you fire this missile, this thruster will activate first and push it away from the launching ship, right? Because this will be the launching ship right here. The thruster will push it that away. In a case of space, it's almost a requirement because you do not want this missile just flying off the rail, especially when you're maneuvering in a dogfight. But the simple fact is it can smash into your ship and cause damage to both the missile and your ship. Here on a planet, depending on how you mount it, in this case, it'll be mounted facing downwards, right? The merge block will be pointed up. This missile will just fall away before it activates. So I don't need that. Now, with everything in here, come to your program block. And let's rename this just so we know what it is. Missile PB. Edit, browse scripts, WHAM, whips, advanced WHAM and missile script, check code, and boom. And it says no groups containing this program found. That's perfectly fine. So lastly, what we need, grab all this, everything on your ship, and you're going to need missile, space, and a number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, however many missiles you're going to have on your launching grid. Now, whenever I first built my missile, I do not put a number in there. I put a number sign. Save. And there's a reason for that. Now I'm going to come through here and turn everything off of my terminal. Other than the program block. Oops. And there's a reason for this. And I'll show you why. Now, I got a working missile. So let's paint this. What color would you want it? Let's paint this black. Right? Black. We got a black missile. Now let's detach that from there. And now I can't access the block. Now let's name this. Let's call this, I don't know, what's WHAM for WHAM missile, Atmo for atmospheric. I'm going to click it right there. Control C to copy it. And you can do, what was it, Control B for blueprints. Open my blueprints. Create new blueprint. WHAM Atmo. Now let's come over here. Paste it onto this ship. Now here's where the numbers come into play, right? Now, because I can come down, paste 1, and not change the number. Because if you put 1 on here, each one of these missiles has to have its own identifier. So missile 1, missile 2, missile 3, missile 4. You'd have to come through here and change this every single time. And I'm going to have to do it anyways, but it helps. This helps me from getting confused, okay? That's why I do it this way. Backspace, 1, save. Come over here and delete this. And then you need to run setup in the augments, right? So missile programmable block, augment, setup, run. And look, see this right here? It automatically named it missile 1. If I open this up, you see missile 1. Okay. Next, come to number, well, let's do the other side here. Just to keep things balanced. You know, balance really doesn't matter, but... So, same thing. Number 2, save, delete, access the programmable block, setup, run. Come back over. Same spiel. Missile 3, save, delete, setup, and last but not least, number 4. Missile number 4, save, delete, setup, run. Alright, now the missiles are all set up and good to go, right? But the launching ship is not. So there's 3 modes you can launch this in. Beam Rider mode, and what Beam Rider mode is it basically just follows your cockpit or your control seat that you were using, and it literally acts like a beam riding missile. It follows wherever you point. There's Turret Guided mode, where it follows whatever the turret is locked onto, and then there is Fire and Forget or Camera Guided mode. And these require some setup as well. So we'll need a program block. We'll need a camera. We'll need an LCD, but let's use the transparent one. And you can use any one you want. And we'll need a turret. Well, I'm not going to use the vanilla turret. I'm going to use... Toolbar. I don't have it in here. Well, I guess I'm using a vanilla turret. I have a modded turret that I like to use because it has an extended range of like 2,500 meters or 5,000 meters depending on what it is. And it's just like a little 1x1 block that I like to use. Unfortunately, I do not have the mod in this world. So there's the turret. Right. Now we're going to need the cameras. The more cameras, the merrier. It is, Whiplash recommends 1 camera for every kilometer you are planning on trying to lock onto a target, because they have a cooldown timer. So the cameras, we're going to need our program block. Oop. We're going to need an antenna on the launching ship. And that's what I mean about I do not like the antennas, because it gives away your position, but there's a way around that. So, and lastly, we're going to need our LCD screen. The LCD screen is not required, but it'll help us to know what's going on with the ship. Now, let's go ahead and hop in here. So first things first, program block, and we're going to call this lamp. Right? Edit. Browse script. WHAM. This WHAM is the script that launches these missiles. You don't have to use it, but it'll make your life a lot easier. So use it. Check code. Okay. Now, if you look in here, it says no blocks group found named fire control was found. So here's what you need: that antenna you placed, the cameras you placed, the Gatling turret, and the transparent LCD. Fire control. Right? Now, if I come back into this program block, no errors. No sound block and fire control. That is not a requirement. The sound block will play sounds indicating your lock-on status. It's not a requirement. I don't use it. Now, if I come over here and look at this LCD screen, you see several things. At the top, it says camera, turret, and beam ride. That is the launching mode you were using. You can, like I said, you got a camera mode for fire and forget, turret mode for more of a tow missile or guided bomb type thing, and beam ride mode. Below that, it says no target. Well, you're not locked onto anything. Below that is the range, which is a lock-on range. You got your aim point, which is where you're going to aim. Below the aim point is called auto fire. It's hard to see because the LCD screen is transparent and it's disabled. With auto fire mode, this script will automatically launch a missile every time a target is locked on. So if you're using the turret mode automatically locks onto a target because wherever that turret locks onto, the missile locks onto it as well. So if you got, say, a SAM site and you got a longer range turret, or even this one, anytime something comes into range of that, the turret automatically locks onto it and starts shooting, correct? Well, this script locks onto that turret as well and can fire a missile whatever that turret is locked onto. And because you got the auto fire option, whenever something comes in range of that turret, you can automatically send a missile its way. Not only can you automatically send a missile its way, there's also an option for remote fire. So I can have a SAM site over there on that hillside, and I can have a defense turret down here with the auto fire enabled, and whenever this turret down here locks onto an enemy ship, a missile comes at them from that hillside over there, remotely. Pretty cool, huh? And the last one I want to show you is to look at the very bottom, you see top down, disabled. What this is like, well, top down attack missile. Are you familiar with the javelins that the U.S. Army uses for the infantry? They lock onto a tank, fires a missile, the missile pops up in the air really, really high, and it comes down and hits the target from the top. That's what this does, and it's really cool to watch. So there's some setup that we gotta go through. So let me open the guide up here, and we need the augments, lamp augments. So here's all the augments you got. First one, fire. It's obvious. It fires a missile, right? Well, so let's do this. Just so I can keep track of this, top center, content, text and images. One. Well, fire. And I hate this cockpit. Center. There we go. So, you want these commands and the augments on your toolbar at the bottom. Press G. Missile, lamp. You got run with default augment? No. Run. Type in fire. So now, every time I push number 1, a missile will fire. If I do it now, nothing happens. The reason nothing happens is I got no target locked. Excuse me. Turret mode and camera mode require target to be locked. Beam riding mode does not. Up next, you want to be able to switch modes. So Here it is, mode switching. Got mode underscore switch. It cycles between the available guidance modes. And then you got mode camera, mode turret, mode beam ride, so you can specifically select each one. My thing to you is, why would you put 1, 2, 3 things in a toolbar when you can put one on? So we're going to use mode underscore switch only. Let's come in here. Edit text. Mode. WITCS. So now I know number 2 would be the switch mode. So lamp. Right click. Run. Mode underscore switch. Now watch this. Every time I press number 2, it's changing the lock on mode. And you see beam ride turn to active. So now it means you can now fire a missile, because beam riding mode does not require a lock on. Camera, no target. Turret, no target. Active. Okay. Back into here. Camera homing mode. You need to physically tell it to lock on a target. So you got lock on, lock off, lock switch, which is switching between lock on and lock off, which once again, why would you put 2 on when you can put 1 on? And then you got precise switch, which switches between center aim and offset aim for homing modes. What is this? Well, do you want to hit the center of the target, or you want to try to hit a different piece of it? And then top down switch, which is like a javelin. So we're going to do lock switch, right? Come back in my controls. 3. Lock. Switch. And number 4, we're going to put in top down. So, G. Lamp. Lock. Switch. And top down switch. Now this lock switch is only for camera mode. Remember, turret mode automatically locks onto a target. So watch, I'm under camera mode, and I'm going to hit number 3, and it's searching for a target. Whenever it locks onto a target, it will tell you. It'll say target locked. If you have the sound block on, it'll start playing its distinctive tone. Now I have no target here, so it's going to continue searching. Now obviously this is very bad placement for this LCD, because if you're flying along in a dogfight, you're not going to want to turn your head to see if you're locked onto a target. Now if I push number 3 again, it stops searching. Now if I push number 4, you see top down, enabled, disabled. Now that's all you really have to it here. But let me go through a couple more things here before I actually fire these missiles. So you got auto fire on, auto fire off, or auto fire toggle. And if you want to know how to use auto fire, you come down to remote firing missile, or excuse me. Let me rephrase that. Auto fire doesn't require anything. It automatically fires whenever you have a target locked. Remote fire, you also have remote fire. Send a remote fire request to any WHAM missile configured to permit a remote firing. See this section, advanced remote firing missiles. I am not going to cover this. You can read this yourself and set it up. It's not hard. Not hard at all. But you would need to put the augment remote fire and turn it on and off. And while we're here, I'm also going to put auto fire toggle, and I will show you that one. So 4, 5, auto fire. Now, see auto fire disabled? Enabled. Yeah, Evander. He wants me to go play War Thunder. So, let's go find something to shoot. So let's come over here and... How far away am I? Far enough. Let's see. Keep original ship owner on paste. Okay. Whoops. 10. Nope, not 10. Target. There's enemy target. Now I'm out of range for the turret because the default is 600 meters and you have to change it 800 for it to lock on. But, so mode switch, I'm in camera mode and lock, so we're searching. Get up away from the ground a little bit. See, target locked. Now where's my spectator camera? Now, I'm going to push 1 to fire. Now, if you notice, there was a delay before that missile fired. And we'll cover that in a moment. Wow, that actually did some pretty serious damage. I didn't expect it to do that much. Alright, new target needed. Pretty cool, right? Now let's come down here on the ice. And let's put a rover down here. Yeah, some blocks will not be displayed. Just have the shields on. This does have a shield on. I better turn that off. 8, shield off. Transfer to Space Pirates. I feel so bad. I'm going to shoot my own ship. My own rover. Let me get up to where I can see it here. My spectator camera down here. Now watch this. Now, I don't know which missile is going to fire first. It'll probably be number 2. But just in case, I want to be able to show you this mode. So I'm going to go ahead and slap a beacon on these. Just so we can follow the missile. Now, I am going to turn on top down. What was that, number 4? Top down enabled. I'm going to start searching for a target. Searching. Target locked. Now watch what happens here. Whee! Up it goes. This mode is great for shooting ground targets because less chance of it hitting terrain, right? And look at that. Gone. And there's also turret mode, but I'm going to show you the turret mode whenever I do the auto fire. So let's go ahead and put another target out here. So we'll call it 8. Oh, put it at 8. Nope, stop. Put it at 800. Let's go back in. Now, I'm going to change mode from camera to turret. I'm going to turn off top down, and I'm going to enable auto fire. Next step, I gotta up the range or get closer. Oh, 600 meters. My bad. I guess I gotta get closer regardless. Boom! Missile automatically fired. Now there's a problem with that, right? Both missiles fired at once. And that's where the next step comes in play. Actually setting up these missiles, or some of the custom data to them. Alright, up first. Let's come into the program block for WHAM. Custom data. There's some stuff in here. Auto fire remote missiles false. Auto fire interval 1 second. So, by changing this interval, this is how often it'll fire a missile whenever you get a lock on. By changing to 10, every 10 seconds a missile will fire. By changing to 20, every 20 seconds a missile will fire. Antenna range idle, 800. This is where your trick comes into play, where people see in your ship, right? So if I change this to 1, you can no longer see the antenna. But if I get nice and close to, well, I still can't get close enough to that antenna. But let's change this to, change it to 10. Idle range, right? Watch what happens when I hit 10 meters. Boom. Antenna disappears. Now that is when there's no target present. This antenna is required to give launching instruction and instruction to the missile. In turret mode and beam rider mode. In fire forget mode, the missile uses its own cameras. Now there's some more. Lamp, custom data. Antenna range active. This is the range of the antenna whenever it has a target lock, 5,000 meters. Minimum allowed locking range, 50 meters. This is so you don't lock onto your own ship or something by mistake. Now here's the cool part. Use dynamic active antenna range. True. It will automatically scale the range of this antenna as needed for the targets. Between you and between the target. That way it makes it much harder for the enemy ship, player, whatever, to actually get an active lock on you and know where you're at. That's like a must requirement, especially if you're playing on multiplayer. And that's really all there is for this one. This is just to set the screen color. You can change it if you want. You can change your tags if you want as well. I don't touch it, but you can know it's there. Now let's go back down to the missile. There's some things in this missile you can change as well. Same thing. You can change auto configure missile name, leave that to true. You can change your tag, you can change your missile number, you can change your fire control group, and name of your detach thruster. Delays. Guidance delay 2 seconds. That is whenever it fires, how long it takes to guide on the target. This is useful for if you have like missile tubes. You don't want this missile to fire and immediately start to track onto a target and bang around inside of your missile tube. That's what the delay is for. Or bang against the side of your ship. Disconnect delay in seconds. Now remember, whenever I initially fired a missile, there was a delay there before it actually launched. That's what this is. You can change that. Detach stage duration. Detach stage is... Remember I told you the sideways facing thrust that actually pushes the missile away from the ship? That's what this is. Then lastly, main ignition delay. And we'll go ahead. Main ignition delay is how long it takes for the missile to actually turn on its thrusters. So we'll set that to 2 and watch what happens. grab a copy of this. Now, I don't feel like going out there and setting up a target, so I'm just going to put it in the beam rider mode. Let's get up away from the ground. Mode switch, beam rider. Now I'm going to fire this missile. Now watch, this missile is going to drop away for 2 seconds and then launch. Oh wait, duh. I'm a bonehead. And missile PB. Set up, run, there we go. Now let's fire the missile. And there you have it. And it'll, like I said, it's beam rider. It follows my beam. Till it impacts the ground. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is Fireman Dan. As a quick recap, on your missile you need your detach point, in this case a merge block, a power source, thrust, remote control, gyroscope, your program block, your warheads, your cameras, and optionally a sensor you're also required an antenna. On your launching ship, you'll obviously need your mount points, otherwise you can't put the missile on here to begin with. Cameras, turret, LCD. These are all not required. It depends on what kind of missile you want to build. If you don't want fire and forget missile, you don't need cameras. You don't want a turret lock-on mode, you don't need a turret. If you don't want a status display, which I don't see why you would, you don't need an LCD. And you are required to have an antenna and a program block for the script. Now, go shoot some stuff. This is Fireman Dan. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so, and hit the notification bell. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. Fireman Dan, I will see you next time in Space Engineers.